Comments expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.
The role of a woman in the society is to submit. Birth control are the pills of the devil. Education is so fundamental to the development of a people. Hang murderers. Simple as that. What am I voting for? Voting will change nothing.
Tout le monde haïtien, como ye. God save the Queen.
Broadcasting live on ILTV Studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. Welcome to Freedom March. My name is Rodney Monker. I'm a Justice of the Peace here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And of course, I'm a member of the local Catholic Christian community. Today, there is a major scandal taking place in our face. But we are too stupid to recognize what is taking place. On Wednesday, the Prime Minister laid on the table of the House of Assembly the infamous heads of agreement with Oban. And when the agreement was over, we now discovered that the Prime Minister has revealed that notwithstanding the fact that we saw Peter Kruger signing the agreement, the government now say he didn't sign it. Well, today I'm going to accuse the Bahamas government of deceit and of fraud, because somebody has to be bold enough to tell the government that they are lying. Peter Kruger did sign it. We saw it on TV. The media was present. And where was the Indian man who now Dr. Midas is claiming was in fact the true signatory? Well, it is a scandal and it calls for an investigation. And when I return, I got more scandal to drop on them, because something is horrible. My God, here on the front page of the Nassau Guardian is a whole white man, the ambassador from Oban, signing. And ministers now tell us that don't mind he is signing. They were plain signing. This wasn't the real signing. That Camille Johnson, the permanent secretary, and Mr. Indian man, they signed secretly. There's some scandal, eh? My people, stop being stupid. Can't you see that when they discovered that we had exposed Kruger, somebody backdate this and move his signature? You hear me? I have spoken to the immigration, and they told me they never landed that man. So I challenged the government to prove to me that that man came to the Bahamas. This all dirty trick. I'll show y'all. My God, we in trouble, eh? The FNM is backdating documents. And there's only one Negro in the country who is man enough to say to the emperor, "Emperor, you naked." Now you want to know why I know you naked? I can see your bubby. I can see the emperor bubby. Oh, Jesus. The emperor's naked. Man, this is a scandal, eh? I mean, they bring the white man. Big, fat white man. Nice curly hair. Dress up. He signed it. Now we caught them. They say it wasn't him. Lord have mercy on me. The FNM is full of scandal. I can have me in Monroe on the second leg of the show. We can talk about marital rape and how the new law is panning out. This is Freedom March.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker will be right back after this. This is Freedom March with Rodney Monker.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV Studios, from ILTV Studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. And of course, simultaneously, we are on radio, 105.3 FM, The Beat. I need to get used to radio because radio is like the icing on this cake. So I have this big cake, which is the TV station. And then all of a sudden, Sebastian put icing on it. And you know, I got to watch out for too much sweets. But my spiritual advisor, praise the Lord, is here. Bradley Roll, welcome to Friday, the 2nd of March.
Yes, it's a Friday again.
2018.
Yes, Mr. Monker, thank you so much for your invitation to Freedom March. The weeks are just flying by so quickly.
Isn't God good?
Yeah, another Friday again.
Well, I'm happy that
another
the weeks
weekend
are going swiftly because it means that Jesus soon come.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
the things
We're a
that
day
the
closer.
church are doing,
Sorry?
the things that the church is doing, judgment begins in the church. But before we discuss those things, let me once again welcome you to Freedom March.
Thank you, Mr. Monker. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm so honored to have you as my spiritual advisor.
And I am honored to be on your show, Mr. Monker.
This is powerful.
Yes, I am.
Well, yesterday was Thursday. Am I correct, my spiritual advisor?
Yes, sir. March the 1st.
And Wednesday was the 28th.
8th of February.
Well, I told the nation of a good friend of mine, Brian Lyndon Smith, who celebrated a birthday. But there is a Negro woman who has a rich political history by the name of Miss Effie Walks. Miss Effie Walks, I'm advised, celebrated a birthday on the 28th of February. So I would like to start off by thanking her and wishing her a happy birthday, but thanking her for her political contribution to the development of the modern Bahamas. She was a woman who was involved in what we call the woman suffrage. She participated in the struggle. She was a woman who obviously recognized the importance of nation building. And so what I'm going to do, starting next week, I will declare next week Grammy Week. And I will be inviting people to call the show, tell me about their Grammys, and tell me about the Grammys who participated in the political struggle. And when I talk about the political struggle, I'm talking about a period starting in the 50s, culminating by 1962, when the women of the Bahamas gained the right to vote. And I'm thinking of a lady who, interestingly, as I thought about her, I saw a missed call from her, Mrs. Ruby Ann Darling. I'm going to ask her to be the honorary chairlady of the Grammy Committee. And the reason why I have decided to choose Ruby Ann Darling, she comes from a family of 10 children. She comes from a family where the wife recognized the importance of her husband and submitted. And Ruby has demonstrated to me that she loves the people there. She ain't biased. She ain't hate man, and she ain't hate woman. She loves the people there. So I'm going to be calling Ruby because I need her again as we talk about people like Mrs. Effie Walks. It is so powerful. Mrs. Effie Walks, wherever you are, please have a happy, happy birthday. Well, folks, In the House of Assembly, the Free National Movement government introduced what they call a compendium of bills. Among people who made a wonderful contribution to that debate is the newly elected deputy leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, who, my spiritual advisor, is the deputy leader.
Is it I, Chester Cooper?
It is I, Chester Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I, Chester Cooper, when he spoke not as a politician. He spoke as a professional, as a man who is educated in his profession. He put aside, and he made a powerful contribution to the extent that many people have been calling me to say that Chester Cooper represents a fresh breath as he rises above the politics and just give a professional view of these bills. So I'm going to look at what some of the newspaper has reported, because I think it is important when sense is being talked. It is important that we continue to echo those things that are refreshing and are intelligent. So Deputy Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, Chester Cooper, warned the government against overreaching with its proceeds of crime bill and financial transactions reporting bill designed to safeguard the financial services sector from blacklisting, but which may unnecessarily adhere to every whim of the global bodies that foist regulations on offshore financial service centers like the Bahamas. Cooper said in the House of Assembly yesterday that overregulation of the financial services sector could be detrimental for local businesses. He added that government must take care not to overregulate, especially with low-risk accounts. We must balance the need for regulation and the need for more ease of doing business to remain a vibrant, competitive jurisdiction, said Cooper. Domestic banks are already applying a sledgehammer in some cases where a fly swat will do. He added that barriers to business must not be part of government legislation that seeks to calm the concerns of international bodies. We must not just have legislation thrust upon us, Cooper said. We must respect that we live in a global village with interconnected systems. However, we must assert our understanding of local context and the realities with respect to the bigger global picture. If we react too harshly, we run the risk of starving to death an already diminished financial services sector. This Parliament, says I, Chester Cooper, must defend our sovereign turf and not accept what is sent to us hook, line, and sinker. He questioned why G20 countries like the United States and Great Britain have standards that work for them and are required to be adopted by nations like the Bahamas, but are simpler than ours. It is good enough for them. How is it not good enough for us? I would find it hard to swallow that the FATF, CFATF, and OECD believe that the standard the United States uses is not sufficient for the Bahamas. Now, it is interesting to note that I, Chester Cooper, in his contribution to the House, referred to quite a number of international organizations. And he warned us to be careful that these foreign nations does not keep sending us things to pass into law that will then further undermine our financial centers, our financial services centers. Well, let me take you back. I think it was in 2001. Hubert Alexander Ingram was Prime Minister and the FNM was the government. Mr. Ingram went, I believe, to New York. There somebody called the OECD had some problem with our financial services. The next thing we know, the Honorable Algernon Allen was leader of government businesses for the FNM. And Janet Boswick was a big thing. And Papa either faxed them, emailed them a bunch of proposed legislation. I think I could remember. It was 2001 when Algernon Allen received the fax and then went into the House to table the fax. And if my memory serves me right, Algernon Allen complained that Papa just faxed him and told him to table it. And the next thing we know, the financial service centers became even more undermined as this group, OECD, said that they had the Bahamas on a blacklist and they have double standard. So we know that under the FNM, they are easily misled by foreign influences. I think Chester Cooper's contribution is a contribution that we all should study in more detail. I would hope that Chester Cooper would send me a copy of his speech. I always ask the PLP, y'all send me copies of y'all's speeches, but sometimes they look like they forget me. Listen, I was journalist now, you know. I play journalist, and take it from me, I am able to play journalism better than the Nassau Guardian and or the Tribune, because they don't know that a fraud has been committed upon us, because they're not the real thing. I am the real journalist when I'm playing it. So Chester Cooper's contribution is a powerful, powerful contribution. And I need a copy of his speech so I can further study and analyze it. Well, folks, in the half-hour adjournment or thereabout, I'm going to have with us noted attorney at law Wayne Monroe, QC. Because, as you are aware, the Bahamas Christian Council has become a special group that the Attorney General sent to them copies of his proposed sexual amendments. And I told you how the Christian Council met. I told you how 3 saints in the council did not vote. Now we are learning that the council say that it will not reveal their vote publicly and or their recommendation. I find it amazing that the Christian Council and Carl Bettles does not seem to recognize that civil society does not mean a selective group. Civil society is every citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And since the law is going to affect citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it is grossly indecent and immoral for 2 things to happen. 1, for Carl Bettel to keep the amendment quietly, and for the Christian Council to act in such an irresponsible and ungodly manner that they are going to conceal their votes and not inform the public when this is all designed for the better government? Somebody in the Christian Council is not saved. And remember yesterday, when I took on Pastor Dave Burris, I reminded him, I said, Pastor Dave, I remember when you was not saved. And that is what I'm going to have to do. So I have sent for the dossier of many of these pastors. I happened to be invited to a church. One member of the Christian Council got me upset. I didn't like the way he testified. I have no problem with testimony in church, but I think that certain testimony should be quiet. Can you imagine when Pastor got up and he said, I remember when I used to drink rum? Do you think that's what he should have said? And then the next thing I know, he said, I remember when I used to keep sweetheart and all I tried to break away from that woman. And I said to myself, goodness have mercy. I think it's a sin. If the pastor used to keep sweetheart, if he used to drink rum, let's say he used to smoke a little grass, you don't have to get up in the church and say it. You know, just say it quietly. Couldn't we have some better testimony? But for the pastor to get up, all right? At one point I thought he was going to call the woman name, my spiritual advisor.
Confession is good for the soul, man.
He said, I remember when I was sweethearting sister woman. You know, like he's advertising it. All right?
Oh, Lord.
Oh boy, it's just so amazing. So my spiritual advisor, have you found those scriptures that I asked you to find?
Yes.
Because I want.
Let's see.
Well,
Well, you want me to remember to come back, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to have to read scriptures.
Okay, no problem.
Because I'm going to have to look at some of the pastor there. I mean, it's just amazing
Yeah.
for the pastor.
Well, I mean, if he's talking about his past, Mr. Monk, you got to remember now, you know, you used to be at some point in your life, and then once Christ entered in the mix and pulled you out of the
You
pit,
don't have to say.
he pulled you from the pit and put you
You don't have to say.
in the pulpit. You know what I mean? So, I mean...
I have a problem when the pastor starts saying he's keeping sweetheart. I have a problem when pastor confess his sweethearting. What about your outside children? You ain't mentioned them. Lord, the pastor should stop talking like that. I remember when you was This is Freedom March. I am on the warpath because woe unto the Christians.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker will be right back after this. Expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV and simultaneously on our new radio station, the newest radio in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, 105.3 FM, The Beat. My name is Rodney Monker. My spiritual advisor, praise the Lord, Bradley Rule, is here with me. Bradley, welcome back.
Thank you.
To Freedom March.
Thank you, Mr. Monker.
When we
Thank
took
you.
the adjournment, I started to preach because it is clear that the church and them have now begun to become a part of the world. And so they're on my mind because they're too liberal. And the only liberal is Jesus Christ.
Liberator.
And if we are not preaching Christianity, we are being inconsistent. But I'll come back to it. Now, Bahama Press has a very scandalous story. And I'm going to read it to you because I think everybody ought to know. Bahama Press is reporting that Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Minix was subject to body search as he touched down in Haiti on Saturday. Is this true? And if this is true, this call for further investigation and interpretation. But let me read it to you. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Hubert Minnis became a subject of a body search as he arrived into Port-au-Prince, Haiti for the special CARICOM meeting over the weekend. Bahamian police was angered by the decision of the Haitian police to body search the Prime Minister, screaming that Prime Minister Minnis was a head of state and should not be subjected to such insults. The exchange between the Haitian and Bahamian officers reached a high point, with someone in the Bahamian delegation speaking Creole. Well, wait. But before the situation got more dangerous, while on the tarmac, Prime Minister Minnis accepted to be searched and suggested that the Haitian police was doing their jobs. Let me repeat it again. Prime Minister Minnis, according to Bahama Press, accepted to be searched and suggested that the Haitian police was doing their jobs. Boy, when you don't know. Commissioner of Police must change the security around the Prime Minister, for what is clear is that not them nor the Minister for Foreign Affairs understood what is expected in these matters, and the PM could have been launched into a dangerous trap. One observer of the ordeal suggesting that with such a huge delegation, Haitian police thought that minister who is in and out of rehab might have been on board, and perhaps his substances could have been on his person. But Prime Minister Minnis is no fool. He don't travel anywhere with that minister, not even. So, now I want to educate the punch. The Prime Minister is not the head of state. The head of state of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth II. And in her absence, the person who acts as head of state is the Governor General, and in this case, Dame Margaret Pinling. Mr. Minnis is the head of government. We do not have a Republican form of government. Let's use the United States as an example. They have a Republican form of government in which President Trump is head of state and head of government. Under the Westminster system, Her Majesty the Queen is head of state and her Prime Minister is head of government. But in the case of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, in the absence of the Queen, Dame Margaret is the head of state. And at all material time, the Prime Minister is the head of government. Now, why would the Haitian authority search the Prime Minister? What did Frankie Campbell do incorrectly? First of all, Minnis sent Frankie as the vanguard. That's what he did. So Frankie was supposed to ensure that the necessary protocol was put in place. so that when the Prime Minister landed, the Haitian protocol would have recognized him immediately and usher him through the necessary protocol arrangement. But if we accept what Bahama Press is reporting, something went wrong. It is a sign either of menace not ensuring that the people who were assigned were competent. All right? And there it goes. Menace was searched. I have ordered an investigation into why the Haitian authorities search Dr. Menace. So ma besben tout mon haïtien, est-ce que ou connaît pour qui ça police là are you with me?
I'm with you. I just can't understand. I'm not understanding the story, to be honest with you.
Well, my best friend,
I don't understand this
my
story.
best friend, NBC haïtien pour expliquer pour qui ça le Prime Minister arrive dans Haïti, police là fait ça. Pour qui ça? Est-ce que vous fâchez avec government ministre? Parce que ministre Kembe
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
You think that's a possibility?
It could be, but that...
I asked the Haitian embassy, why did they search the Prime Minister? Are you tired over the fact that the Haitian people
upset, man.
are
Fâché.
Are you fâché?
Fâché.
Okay. Are you angry over the fact that many of them have been catching Haitian? Okay. Well, when the Minister of Immigration comes back down, I want y'all to say to him.
They still broke protocol though, because I'm sure before the government flew into Haiti that the correct protocols were connected and made. I mean, I can't see them even searching the prime. They would know who the Prime Minister is.
You think so?
Man, come on, Mr. Monica. That's an official visit from the Bahamas government.
Okay.
They would know who the Prime Minister is. Why he was searched? If he was.
Well,
because I'm not hearing the story in any of the other tabloids. So
okay. Well, let's look at.
I don't trust this paper that you get this information from.
Let's look at Frankie. You would recall.
Why are we looking at Frankie?
Because he was a part of the advance.
Yeah, but
if Menace had
this story is saying that
the
Prime Minister was searched.
Listen to me.
So why are we looking at Frankie?
Because Menace sent Frankie to Haiti in advance. Are you aware of
He
that?
did?
Of course. He did. If Menace had sent me to Haiti, suppose he had sent me to Haiti in advance, the first thing I would have done is to sit down with Jeff Williams.
The ambassador.
Jeff Williams is the Bahamas ambassador to Haiti. Now I know that Jeff Williams is a superstitious man. Frankie may not be aware of that. So I would say to Jeff, now Jeff, we have to make sure that the Haitian know who the Prime Minister is.
Yeah, I mean, did
Right?
they make a mistake?
Right?
Did they make a mistake though?
And I would ensure that the President of the Republic have the right protocol in. And then, of course, I would have listened quietly to whatever intelligence I can gather. Now, don't forget what Menace did with Frankie. When Menace introduced the cabinet to the President of Haiti, Menace told the President that Frankie's mother lives in Haiti. You heard me? Frankie had to correct him and say, no, she lives in Nassau. So you see what's going on there? Menace even don't know where Frankie's family is. Or you didn't watch it?
I saw the video.
Yeah?
Yeah, I saw it.
Anyway, well, I thought...
But yeah, they need to look at that because obviously something went wrong. And I think the Prime Minister, along with his delegation, should have been treated a little bit more fairly. Why search him? As a matter of fact, his guards would have had weapons on them. What were they searching the Prime Minister for?
Well, if I was in charge of his security...
What were they searching him for?
How you mean what they search him? What do you search people for?
Why would they search him? Search him for what reason?
I don't know. All right? If I was in
Doesn't
charge
make any sense
of
to
the
me.
Prime Minister's security, okay, the first thing I would have said, the first thing I would have done is to pull my gun. You follow? And when I pull my gun, and I say, I see un peu yo parveni or ma balno. I don't know.
I don't know if you're going to pull no gun in Haiti.
How you mean?
No, that's just going to stir up problems.
The Prime Minister, you're searching him, and I'm in charge of his security?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can understand that. But that won't be the correct standoff, though. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
You know, nobody in foreign country. So I guess the best thing to do is to just submit to it for the time being and deal with it afterwards.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
But it's wrong. And I think the Haitian government, if that had happened, they should write a letter of apology, not only to the Prime Minister, but also the people of the Bahamas.
Well, we've had this before, you know.
And it's on the former Prime Minister was searched as well.
Well, let's go to the former Governor General.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the former female Governor General? Dame
Ivy Dumont?
Ivy Dumont.
Right.
She went to the United States. My God, the Americans searched her.
Really?
Yeah, man. There was only one Negro in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas who stood up for her. That was me. And I told the Americans they were wrong. I said, my God, you mean to tell me this what y'all going to do to the Governor General? Y'all going to search her? All right? And then they apologized. Everybody else was afraid, but I thought I'll take a chance. And I told the Americans, y'all are wrong. Y'all should not be searching the Governor General. But we've had our people search. Dame Joan Sawyer, the United States Embassy invited her. And when she showed up, they tell her, open up your bag. And they search her bag. Then they search her. Dame Joan Sawyer. She was Chief Justice.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Only 2 people in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas stood up for Dame Joan Sawyer. That was noted attorney at law and former Justice of the Supreme Court. What's her name? Janie
Thompson?
I. Thompson. Janie stood up for her, and I was the next Negro person. I told the Americans they should hang their head in shame to invite Dame Joan Sawyer, the Chief Justice, to the embassy, and then search her. All right? And then Perry Christie went to the States, and they searched him. Okay? So, that is what happens. When I go to the States, as soon as they say search, I start loosening my clothes. All right? So, that is what happened there. Anyway, ministers, don't take it personal. Okay? After all the bad treatment we've done to the Haitian people here in the Bahamas, we're lucky that the Haitian didn't curse some of us out.
We don't treat Haitians bad, Mr. Monica.
What? You don't treat Haitians
we
bad?
don't. We don't do
Who?
that.
Man, stop talking nonsense.
The only thing
the Haitian woman, hold on a second.
We don't treat
The
Haitians.
magistrate just let go a Haitian woman who got a baby sucking at the breast.
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
They know.
Why did that happen?
Because immigration acted unlawfully.
No. The reason why that happened is because this lady violated a law. All right? She landed in the Bahamas illegally. It's an illegal landing. That violates the immigration law. Now, the correct policy or the correct way to correct that is that she was taken before the courts, right? Right. It is a bailable offense. Here's what happened to her. She went before the courts. She was found guilty, and she was fine.
She was found guilty.
Well, she's sorry, not found guilty.
Goodness
She was
of
fine.
mercy.
Sorry, forgive me. She was placed on bail, $2,000 bail.
Let's go
Now
over
she
this
couldn't
again.
meet the bail.
Let's go over this again, eh?
She couldn't meet the bail.
Let's go over this again.
What does the law say if you can't meet the bail?
Did they caught her landing in the Bahamas unlawfully?
That was the charge.
I asked you a question. All right?
That was the reason why she's taken before the court.
She went before a female magistrate who, having heard the circumstances and the abuse, all right? They abused that woman. I don't want to run on about it.
Anyhow,
All right?
But the point I wanted to make...
The woman magistrate recognizing that this woman breast, that's what I read, lactating, eh? I think that's
Okay.
the word they use. Meaning that her breast
she's breastfeeding.
was springing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right? She didn't allow her bail on her own reconnaissance because she could not afford it.
Yeah, right. So, but the thing
All
is,
right?
though, if you go
I
before,
want y'all to stop it. Other than
but she
that,
didn't make the bail. That's why she was supposed to go to jail.
listen to me.
The law says if
she
you
was given a
can't-
bail. She got bail.
She got bail,
She allowed
okay.
her to sign it on her own reconnaissance.
After the fact, though. After she can make it.
Right.
So if she didn't meet the bail, so
Yeah.
she had to go to jail. And then the baby was
No,
placed
no,
in
no, no,
immigration.
no.
Wasn't that 10-month-old baby placed in immigration care?
No. They had her locked up before she was brought to court. All right? Let's get the sequence correct, my
And then what
spiritual
happened
eye.
after that?
The court, looking at the fact that the woman's breast was springing milk
Let me ask a question.
and the baby was being
Was she at
stabbed.
any point separated from her baby?
Yes.
When did that happen?
I'm not sure.
See, that's what I'm trying to get at.
I'll have to look at the story. I will be
Yes,
honest with you.
please
All
do.
right?
Check the story.
We'll check the story.
All right, if you can't make bail, based on the court, if you can't make bail,
It didn't.
they send you to
The
jail.
court never sent her to jail.
$2,000, man. She can pay the $2,000
Anyway,
on the other lady.
I want you to listen one more time. She would have gone to, so she went to jail.
Yes.
All right. I have to look at
And
the
the
story.
baby was placed in the care of the immigration department.
We'll look at the story and we'll discuss it
All right.
on Monday.
And then it was brought back before the court that here you have a lady who was separated from her 10-month-old baby. Immigration then decided they're going to take this case back to the court because they found that taking care of this child was a bit too much for them. They rather the mother and the child be together. So now it was taken back before the courts, argued before the judge. Well, Your Honor, we have a 10-month-old baby whose mother's in prison. All right, we would rather this mother and the child.
That
be
is
united.
what immigration argued?
Immigration did that, yes.
Okay, I'm going to concede it to
Yes,
you.
check the story.
I'll concede it to you, my spiritual
Right.
advisor.
But don't say we treat Haitians bad.
Listen to me. We
She-
treat Haitian
the correct
bad.
process, she went before the courts,
We
right?
treat Haitian bad.
She's given bail in the amount of $2,000. She couldn't pay the bail, so what's the next step? You go to jail.
I'm going to concede to
Right.
you. All right?
We
I'm
don't
go-
treat Haitians bad. We treat them fairly.
Stop saying that. Stop saying that. I have in the city of New Providence appeared before me a Negro Bahamian woman accompanied by a teenage who is of Haitian descent. You heard me? All right. Well,
Okay, then.
where were we? We went.
We were dealing with the search in Haiti, but
Okay.
I think that one is over now.
All right. Stanley Sands. He is reporting on Facebook that he was in Long Island and he was in the taxi. And the next thing you know, 4 o'clock came and the taxi driver began to suck his teeth and start knocking his phone because he remember when it's 4, it's Freedom March. So to the taxi driver, I thank you for staying with Freedom March, and to Stanley Sands. Stanley Sands, yes. I thank you for the report. And I sure hope that you tip the Long Island taxi driver. Okay? We're happy when we get these reports on Facebook. Now, my spiritual advisor, what do we have here? I have a statement from Senator the Honorable Fred Mitchell. He's opposition spokesman on immigration and on the enforcement of immigration rules. As a result of legal decisions, we have the specter of people who have no legal status free on the streets of the Bahamas, with the Department of Immigration having no effective means to police their status. This has knocked on effectives. This has knock-on effects on the prison and the administration generally of the Department of Immigration. This requires urgent action on the part of the government to have this matter clarified at the Privy Council level. And at the same time, the law needs to be amended to ensure that immigration has the tools to do the job of protecting the country from incursions of those who would seek to breach our borders. The rule on costs in the Supreme Court in these matters must be amended to prevent unscrupulous lawyers from obtaining a windfall through these actions. At the same time, we wish to call for the strict enforcement of the law. We support the immigration officers in their work. Both the reports of corruption and excesses in the lawful exercise of their responsibilities are exaggerated for effect. The attacks on them are condemned. The government must stand up for the Immigration Department and its officers. It appears that the government is unable to successfully defend itself in court. It is important that the sovereignty of our country is defended and the right, the absolute right, subject to law, of the immigration director to exclude non-nationals from this country must be confirmed. So that is Fred Mitchell, Senator the Honorable Fred Mitchell, the chairman of the opposition Progressive Liberal Party. And that was a statement that he had issued. Any comments on that, my spiritual advisor?
No, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever? Really? Well, what do we have here? I have a copy of what is called the Sexual Offenses Amendment. I got somebody to send this to me so I could see what is so secretive that Carl Bettel and the Christian Council are hiding from the masses of the people. I don't know what's going on, right? I don't know what's going on. I've decided that I'm going to pursue one or two of the members of the Christian Council. I started with Pastor Dave, because I remember when Pastor Dave was not saved. And reading what he is saying, I'm having doubt as to whether he understands some things, because I want to tell him something. Miles Monroe was in charge of the Bahamas, of the Bahamas Faith Ministry. And Miles did something to Fred Mitchell that has me terrified. And I am bold enough to say it. I knew that after Miles Monroe plane crash, Fred Mitchell, not wanting a kind of stigmatization, because he knows that the Negroes are mystical. We believe in things. So Fred's argument is, it was just an accident. But those of us who pray to God saw it as a sign, because Miles mistreated Fred Mitchell. That's a fact. Right here, March, and I read those articles. Miles Monroe cursed out Fred Mitchell, and Fred ain't doing him nothing. There's nothing wrong with the pastor cursing you out, you know, if you did the pastor something. It was horrible the way Miles carried on. He started in March of that year. By November, Miles' plane crashed. That's a fact. I'm not exaggerating. I'm merely giving you a scientific fact. Did this in March. By November, this is what happened. And so we have to be very careful when we are mean.
Yeah, but you don't.
Unkind.
Yeah, but you don't want to do that, eh?
Do what?
You can't put a connection between the two.
Yes, I can.
How do you do that?
Let's look at it. Which two are you talking about now? Let me be clear.
How do you connect the ill-fated plane crash
Let's look at
with
it. Miles?
Fred Mitchell?
Miles got up in the church. He walked up and down the pulpit as he berated Fred. Then
Berated?
Yes, berated.
Miles don't attack people. He never attacked people personally.
My spiritual advisor, are you listening to what I'm telling you? Right? And then Fred Mitchell and Miles Monroe got into a theological clash over who God is the most powerful God. You hear me? Fred said the God he served would not treat people the way Miles was doing it. At the end of the year, Miles was dead. That's a
So
fact.
what does that have to do with anything, though?
I say let's treat everybody kind.
Wow.
This is Freedom March. I'll be right back.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker will be right back after this. Is Freedom March with Rodney Monker.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live from ILTV studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. And guess what? Simultaneously, while being on TV, we are broadcasting live on radio, 105.3 FM. The Beat, Man God is Good, eh? Radio and TV. Well, we here on Freedom March, we are committed to educating the public and, making sure we bring truth to power. So, folks, we here at Freedom March, I want to point out to you something that is developed. You would recall, I think it was on the 19th, that the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, he and an American fraudster, Peter Krieger, they held a major press conference on national radio and TV and even on Facebook, where they signed an agreement, a heads of agreement. The Prime Minister that Monday promised that Wednesday he will table it in the House of Assembly. But we, in the media, we launched an investigation and a vicious attack on Peter Kruger. So Minnis never then tabled it. But Wednesday, he tabled it. And would you believe that something is fishy, but I ain't stupid? We saw Peter Kruger signing, and ministers told us he was signing the heads of agreement. But by the time they table it, somebody slipped his signature and put the Indian man Donna. Donna, you hear me? Something is wrong. And I call on Assistant Commissioner of Police, Paul Roll, who is in charge of the corruption unit, to seize the agreement and to do an investigation. So I'm going to read a little bit of something to you quickly. Oban Energies. This is taken from the Nassau Guardian. My spiritual advisor wears the front page of the Nassau Guardian, so the people them could see this big fat white man and the Prime Minister. See? They're signing. The evidence is here. But minister them tell us, they don't mind he was signing. That wasn't the real agreement. The Dr. Dexter Johnson's sister, Camille Johnson, and him, and the Indian man signed something. So the question is, was he here? He was not here, because I checked my sources at immigration, and they said to me, the man ain't come yet. So I suspect that what they may have done is to either fax him the page that Camille signed again, and or FedEx it to him. But I'll read a little piece of this before. Oh, Wayne, you're on TV. I have in my studio noted attorney Wayne Monroe QC. Wayne Monroe QC, welcome to Freedom March.
Thank you, Brother Monka.
And happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy to see you on radio again.
Well, I thank you.
Or hear you on radio
yes.
again.
And you were 50.
Yes.
It's amazing, eh?
Almost 60.
I remember when 50 was old.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Now 50 is young.
Yeah, it's relative almost.
Which means that since you were born in 68, everybody who was born in 68, I could have sent them home. I don't know if I could send you home now. But you are 50, and my spiritual advisor is
5'2".
You 52?
52, yeah. I didn't even know I was older than me.
I'm going to read a little piece of this, and then we'll get into why you were here. So, I show you, the Nassau Guardian is in trouble because they are forced to produce the evidence. See the white man signing? A whole white man signing the agreement. But Minnis said, don't mind, he signed this. This wasn't the real agreement. Man, I've never seen nothing like this in all my life. So let me read it. Oban Energies non-executive chairman, Peter Kruger, did not sign the official heads of agreement with the government as was broadcast live last week. According to the heads of agreement tabled by Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis last night, Oban President Satpal Dana, that's an Indian man, and Secretary to the Cabinet and Secretary to the National Economic Council, Camille Johnson, signed the official heads. The agreement is dated February 19, 2018, the same day the government held a press conference at the office of the Prime Minister and signed a heads of agreement with Kruger. During that press conference, which was televised live on ZNES TV and streamed live on Facebook, Johnson and Kruger signed what was said to be the heads of agreement. Dana, that's the Indian man, was absent from that press conference. I ain't going no further. I checked with immigration. Don't underestimate me. I checked with immigration. They told me the man ain't been in the country. So, the FNM is telling us a bold-faced lie. And we must be smart enough when people are insulting our intelligence to reject it. And let me tell you how I can insult your intelligence. When I tell you a deliberate lie, I'm insulting you. Particularly in view of the fact that we all saw it on TV and the newspapers reported it. So is Minnis suggesting that at some point, when the TV camera shift, Camille Johnson, the sister of what Dr. Johnson name? Dexter Johnson, and the Indian man slipped through one side door and gone in one room? Come on, this is dishonesty. I accuse the government of lying and misleading the parliament. Y'all think I'm stupid, eh? Don't mind I look stupid. I only look stupid because I got some people that I look like. All right? I hope my family don't get upset.
Oh, Lord,
right? So it's nonsense. Now that we know that Kruger is a crook, they slip his signatory page. Y'all think I'm stupid, eh? This is the second time. Oh, I hate to say it. Boy, so sorry I have good memory. Let me give you a story. God forgive me. I think Papa will understand. In 2001, Bradley Roberts and Melanie Griffin took the FNM to court because somehow Papa missed and sent the wrong document to the Governor General. Papa missed and do it, and she signed it into law. Bradley Roberts and Melanie Griffin retained the Honorable Paul Adderley, who immediately took out the action. Guess who was the judge? Dame Joan Sawyer. So she know what I'm talking about. She ruled in favor of Bradley and Melanie Griffin. I went to see Paul Adderley one day during the course of the case, and he said to me, I ain't gonna let you put the file in your hand, but I want you to look at this. And as I began to read it, I couldn't believe that the FNM was a gangster organization. Paul Adderley won the case. And guess what the FNM did? They sent the document back to Dame Ivy Dumont. And they asked her to backdate it. But Dame Ivy Dumont is a wonderful, God-fearing woman. And she refused. So this ain't no surprise to me. Why you think when I read the story, I was able to accuse the FNM? Because I have institutional memory. Paul Adderley pointed out to me a bunch of things he's told me. I talking it now because he dead. All right? And Perry Christie is one person who would know that I am not lying, because he knows that Paul Adderley and I became tight from 1992 up to his death. All right? So the FNM is a master at fraud. A master at fraud. And I'll tell you another thing. Notwithstanding the fact that Paul Adderley wanted to conceal certain information from me, because he said, listen, I only want you to see so far. I could read. So when I saw the court file, what do you think I did? I didn't tell him. I left and went to the Supreme Court registry, asked the clerk for the file, and I sat down and read the whole case. This is fraud. This is fraud. That's what this is. On national TV, the man signing, and now minister promised from that Monday he will table it that Wednesday. But when the criticism started, he withheld it, and then now he files it a week later, and the man's signature is missing. You all think I stupid, eh? Well, I can show ministers how I ain't stupid. I'm going to tear up their heads of agreement. Right? I ain't stupid. You hear me? I ain't stupid. No matter what y'all think, y'all keep your heads in agreement. But I ain't stupid. And I say, lick it down, mama. All right? Heads of agreement. Don't make no provision. Lord, this woman waking from Sabbath's going to have to clean up the place. But I throwing it away. All right? God forgive me if it's a sin. Right? Man, they shouldn't be doing that. Man, I'm going to tear up the guardian as well.
No, man. You can't.
That's enough.
Okay.
I mean, come on now.
That's enough.
Oh, man, why they got to lie? Ben Monroe, forgive me. I see the white man signing? A whole white man.
Well, you know, Brother Monk, I see that. It could be that they just wanted a little show for the public, which is just as bad. But I think what we're going to have to start to focus now on the details of that heads of agreement, because they're positively dangerous and ought never to have been signed at all by anybody.
That is true.
So whether or not it's compliant with our law is another matter as well. The new laws that require certain things.
Yes.
So
But
we'll
it's
see.
Dave, in the case of the environmental assessment report, it says even if it constitute a threat to the people in Grand Bahama, the F&M promised that they can work with them.
Well, I don't know that they can do that.
Well, that's what they're saying. And take it from me, with ministers in charge, they can do anything.
Now that they can try to do anything. The courts are open every 10 to 4:30, Monday to Friday, and if it's urgent enough, you can find a judge at any point. The Prime Minister is not all powerful in this country.
Well, I hear you saying that. I know one Judge B. Fine. He was a former Chief Justice, Sir Cyril Fountain. And I always used to drive to that corner. Always wanted to go in that house. And he convened court. I show up. Brent Simnett got in the yard like about 10 minutes before me. Me and some other people show up. And the Chief Justice, Sir Cyril, came out in his short pants and T-shirt. And he say, "Y'all get on my yard." Come, Brent. You hear me? His lordship run us out the yard. And he was convening court in the front room. And I always thought the court was open. And all Sir Cyril Fountain did, he run us, boy, something, I can put up with the lowness. I always want to see how that nice house look. And he run us. But he said, as he chased us, the Negroes, as he chased the Negroes on his yard, he said, "Come, Brent." And him and Brent Simnett. Brent can't deny this. Him and Brent Simnett, they play court to themselves. Ben, I thank you for coming. Look, the F&M is going to put rape in my bed. What is your understanding? What is this new thing?
Well, it's not new, you know. I've looked at it, and there are some clues in it that tells you that it's what they proposed to do in 2012. This isn't the first time they came up with this, you know.
Okay.
Remember, they came up with this before the 2012 election.
Yeah, 2009.
On the Ingram.
And didn't go ahead with it.
Right.
Now, the way that you can tell that this is a rehearsal of that old position is that when it talks about needing the consent of the Attorney General to bring a prosecution, they just pass an act that say that the consents now would be from the DPP.
Right.
So clearly this was written before that bill went to Parliament.
Yes.
And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, which is why Sebastian can't get none of my money,
Okay.
I would say that this was written from 2012.
2012.
from as long ago as 2012. They just keep coming back and back and back with this. From 2012, I had written a paper, what did I call it? The Legal Perspective of a Marital Rape, that set out that this thing about introducing something called rape in marriage is designed to equate married women with single women. And
Yes.
if there's no difference between married women and single women, then you downgrade the institution of marriage. It speaks about, and you can follow the trend in the UK, that you say that marriage is not about intercourse, and certainly not reproductive intercourse. And so you can then move to civil unions, where, after all, they say when older people marry, they're not marrying to have children. So it doesn't matter if two people who could never have children at any point in their relationship get married, because marriage isn't about reproductive sex.
So are you
And then the last step that they're witnessing in the UK now is when I was born a woman, but I'm really a man, and I change now to my true gender, which is a man, I have the right to have my birth certificate altered to say I'm a man, and I've always been a man. And if I am marrying a woman, she has no right to know that I was born a woman, because that's my privacy issues. And since marriage isn't about reproductive sex, why would she have to know?
Wow.
And we have seen that develop, and in the paper I trace that development in England from a case called R&R at the House of Lords in 1991 through to the new positions. That's the ultimate reason why people are hell-bent on saying that the offense with regard married people must be called rape, because a married woman must be the same as a single woman.
Is the Christian aware that they're leading us, that the Christian Council and Carl Bettel is about to lead us into gay marriage?
No, but what they did now is they said, and this iteration of it, they say, we rolled out something called sexual assault of a spouse. Now that's a decent provision, because what it does is it says, okay, if you're married, when I got married, the preacher told me my body was no longer my own. That's what he told me. I don't know if I should believe him, because
that's what the Bible says.
Because these people saying something different, but that's what he told me.
He told me that's so.
That's what the Bible says.
That's the deal he said.
When he told me
it.
that the woman body was mine, I started controlling that body. Yeah.
Yeah, just like Adam control Eve, but
Yeah.
you don't realize that. That's the only thing. You don't realize that you controlling your wife, just like Adam control Eve.
Yeah, that is true.
But so they've gone away from saying it has to be called rape. But the old section was fine, because it said if this woman trying to get rid of you, trying to get a judicial separation from you, trying to divorce you, then she trying to change her status. So then, it's like she is saying, wait, I'm coming out of this deal. So then you don't have the right that you previously had. Why? Because the woman has put you on notice.
On notice, yes.
That the woman is changing her position. That's acceptable. That's fine. Now, there was still some deficiencies. Like if you got to beat the woman, then no one in their right mind could say that should be acceptable. Right?
Right. You mean beating the woman?
Yeah.
Only if she keeping sweetheart.
No, not beating the woman.
Oh.
Beating the woman to accomplish intercourse
Oh,
is
okay.
unacceptable.
Fix my clock.
Because beating the woman is a crime.
Yes,
That's the fact of intercourse isn't.
Okay.
But nobody should say that you shouldn't be punished for that. And to my mind, all you needed was to amend the existing 15 for that. But they've gone much, much further, and they've done some very strange things.
Wow.
And
What are some of the strange things that they're doing? Because it's a bunch of strange men.
what you will find is that I can say when we look at this that the sum total of this is that this will be now the new excuse for sweethearting, right?
Goodness of mercy. And I'm opposed to sweethearting because
No.
it's not good for your prostate. Go ahead.
You keep saying that. We don't necessarily accept that.
Okay.
They do some very strange things like this. They tell you that, firstly, that consent shall not be deemed to exist where it's extorted by physical assault or threat or fear of physical assault to the spouse, that's fine, right?
Right.
You can't beat the woman, threaten to beat her.
Okay.
Or to a third person. Now, if that's your child, fine. But suppose the man say, I tired of you staying out all night with your sweetheart, I can beat him up, and the woman say, no, let me give you some. That's offense.
That's an offense?
Because she would have only done that because you threatened to beat up her sweetheart.
Wow.
Yeah.
You meant to tell me this is what the Christian Council going to put on me, but let me tell you all right now, I don't care who in the Christian Council. If the woman keeps sweetheart on me, it will be war.
But that's what these words permit.
Yeah.
And then in the next section, they're doing funny things. When you deal with social institutions, you have to be careful. They say if the consent is obtained by the unlawful detention of the spouse. Now that seems harmless, right? Until you realize when you're married, the preachers say your body is hers, her body is yours. So you can't possibly unlawfully detain her.
Right.
And in fact, we have an order called Order of Judicial Separation,
Right.
which you can get, which says you no longer have to live with this person.
Right.
So by this act, they will be doing away with the duty and right to cohabit in marriage. And it's quite clear because now...
Are you telling me, let me be clear on this because I'm a grassroots man. Are you saying to me with this amendment, the right of me or the right of the woman for us to cohabitate will no longer be there? I can't say, woman, come sleep home tonight?
What I would say is this. You would, unless this is meaningless, because no detention would then be lawful, you now would do away with the concept of cohabitation as a feature of marriage.
Right.
Goodness of mercy. Well, what am I marrying for?
Well, when you look at all of this,
Yeah.
the best advice for people single would be to stay single. Now, notwithstanding that the Bible says you get married to avoid sin.
Fornication, yeah.
Yeah. The bottom line to this is you do not now have cohabitation as a feature of marriage. And what is really worse is the third thing, and I can't see a clock, so I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah.
Right.
But you will find that the last portion of
Got on
it
this clock.
says that it's not consent if it's obtained by a pattern of behavior that has the effect of coercing, controlling, exploiting, or limiting the spouse or dependent's access to financial resources so as to ensure financial dependence.
Broke that down for me.
If you pay the woman bills so that she depends on you, and that is why she has intercourse with you, and it may be a reason, then that can be this offense.
Goodness of mercy.
So you better not make your wife financially dependent on you.
How would I prevent my wife from being financially dependent?
Make her pay all her bills. Don't help her with nothing.
And tell her go look for work.
Yeah.
Woman, go look for work. I don't mind if you work on the dump truck.
Now, you could make your sweetheart financially dependent on you and not commit an offense. But
Wow.
you can't make your wife financially dependent on you and not commit an
This is the
offense.
works of the devil.
And so it would strike me that the best, safest advice for young men would be don't get married, or certainly if you get married, don't spend $1 on the woman or your children. Find a sweetheart, make her financially dependent. Whenever you go home and the woman look at you funny, don't sleep there. Go sleep by your sweetheart.
Wow.
That's the new social contract. You say the Christian Council approves of this?
Yeah.
That our Christian community is advocating for the Bahamas.
Well, we don't know if they have voted yes on it, but
They
we
have
do know.
decided that they are not going to tell us what their position
Right.
is.
They're gonna go
But that
to the
can't be the works of God.
Well, they're saying that they're going to go to the Attorney General, right? One by one, and express what their views are.
One by one?
Yes, that's what they plan on doing.
Goodness of mercy, we're in trouble.
Well, how is that appropriate when over the course of time they have said that in matters like this, in fact, they said when the government called on them in this referendum, they required the church to come out and speak on a moral issue. what could be more pressing a moral issue
Than this.
than the family,
Hold on.
than any law that could affect the family.
Don't forget your thought. You also read in the church, right?
Yes.
This is powerful. Listen, hold on. We're coming back. And when we come back, we're going to hold up the cross. This is Freedom March. My church, or the church, or the church.
Do you have something to say to the senator? Call Freedom March at 323-7775. Toll free from anywhere in the Bahamas at 242-300-0045. Freedom March with Rodney Monker, only on ILTV. Freedom March with Rodney Monker.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV, and simultaneously we are on 105.3 FM The Beat. And if I was playing Haitian, I would say 105.3 FM Batla. So welcome to Freedom March. My special guest in this last hour has been noted attorney Wayne Monroe QC. And of course, Bradley Roll is my spiritual advisor. We have somebody on the phone. Let me go to the phone.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to Freedom March. Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Monker. Excellent show. Your colleague, I just want to compliment you on this edition of the show today.
Thank you.
And I also want to say to QC Wayne Monroe, I totally and absolutely agree with his position on the raping the woman then.
Yes.
Especially she's your wife.
Right.
Wayne Monroe, congratulations. Rodney, a good job. And spiritual advisor.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. What's up, man? You all right?
It's still, I find, but it's still you, you know.
He's breaking up.
I thank you, Comrade Buddy. It is my prayer that you will join me because I'm going to lead a march against it. Because the woman is mine and nobody can tell me how to sex my woman. Go mind your business, okay? I thank you. We're having problems. Every time somebody called me, the F&M just jack up the phone. Lord, what I can do? Sabats, you need a special line for me, man. So, let me just go to a quick scripture voice. My spiritual advisor, find me Jeremiah chapter 10, King James Version. And read
Jeremiah chapter
voice
10.
21 for me.
I thought you wanted to read verse 1 as well.
Would you kindly go to 21?
21.
My spiritual advisor?
21. Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 21, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's what it says.
I told you Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 21.
Check it out. What did you tell me?
10.
Just check 10. See what 10 says, and then we can always talk about
Jeremiah
23.
10
Yeah.
and 21.
Yes. What does that say?
For the shepherds are stupid and do not inquire of the Lord. Therefore, they have not prospered, and all their flock is scattered. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse number 21.
It's powerful.
For the shepherds
That's the pastors.
are stupid
Yes.
and do not inquire of the Lord. Therefore, they have not prospered, and all their flock is scattered. And you are correct, Mr. Monker, when you say the shepherds are the pastors, because actually, in the Greek, that word pastor comes from a Greek word poimen, and it means shepherd.
Really?
Yeah. So the pastors, you ain't far from the kingdom, you know, Mr. Monker.
Listen, I am in the kingdom.
So the pastors are the shepherds.
When I was saved, a bunch of them who are now professing Jesus, you know the sins they were committing? Bishop Simeon Hall, you might be my last hope. You might be my last hope, Bishop Simeon Hall. So Wayne Monroe, we are in trouble because the church is now hiding their position.
Well, they say they're going to be silent on an issue of morals. Because if you accept that there's something morally wrong with it not being criminalized, they ought to speak. Mm-hmm. If you say that what is proposed is morally wrong, they ought to speak. The patron saint of the Anglican diocese in this country, in the Turks and Caicos, is St. John the Baptist. and that's a sign. And his example is that you may sometime have your head cut off for speaking what God sends you to speak, but you can't be cowards. These fellas are saying, having come from an era in the past 5 years where they were very vocal, that now they're going to be cowards and be silent.
Well, this Christian council is a F&M Christian council.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be. The question is,
Listen to me.
Judas was a disciple, but for his 20 pieces of silver, he went silently and did something too.
30.
30, sorry. 30, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The spiritual advisor give him 10 more.
Yeah, no, it is 30.
It is 30.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the clock.
Oh, okay.
So what you have is, it is a very sad day that all of these people went from being very vocal. I remember I used to represent the strip clubs, right, when I was much younger, all of them. And they were very vocal about stripping. You know?
Talking about strip club, I want to come back to this because I'm a taxi driver. And in more recent time, the tourists them won't go to the strip club. And one night I ride up and around the mall for an hour, couldn't find nobody naked.
After the show, I could tell you where all of them are.
You know where they are?
Yeah.
I want to find out if I is that a lawful place? Because
Yes.
tourists have asked me if I would accompany them. I told them for two reasons. One, I told them I think it's unlawful. I
No.
didn't want to be arrested. And then secondly, I said, listen, know we not that woman body is the temple of the Lord. And, she should keep it pure.
Yeah, but for the sake of what Wayne Monroe have explained earlier, right? And
Yes.
this is interesting, right? If this law is what it is, I know with us growing up, you have your girlfriends, and there are times when you do things and you help your girlfriends out, right?
Valentine's just
yeah.
gone, man.
Yeah.
Everyone who wanted some on Valentine's night walk with a
So
gift.
there are times.
That's what you want to say.
Well, yeah, because there are
Plain
times,
like that.
There are times in a relationship when you do certain things for female, and I guess for you would expect a reward back. But now this law is saying that
Only in marriage.
Is it unlawful? Not if you're single.
Not if you keep it- not if you keep it
right,
sweet
but
out.
I'm saying in the
Yeah.
marriage, right? Let's just say my wife is a homemaker. I go out, I have a construction company. I make about maybe $10,000-$15,000 a month. I can take all the bills, send the kids to school, buy all the groceries, pay the light bill, so on and so forth, right? That the wife has a duty to satisfy me sexually. Now, if in her mind she feels that I'm paying these bills as reward to get sex from her, if she feels that I'm extorting sex, then she can go before the courts and say, that's what I've been doing?
She can make a complaint.
Wow.
And in fact, you are, if your understanding is, by the sweat of your brow, y'all all shall eat bread. And in pain shall she bear children. And something comes before children. So if that is the contract, they have now defined that contract as a crime.
Wow.
This is interesting.
Well, I know what I can do this weekend. This weekend, I'm hiding from the Prime Minister and his government with this foolishness and Carl Battle. I'm going into hiding. That's what I'm going to do. So are they saying now, with this new amendment, I can't go home and hold on to a woman?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let me warn y'all. No one is going to stop me from holding down my woman.
You know why they say that? It's. I don't
Yeah,
know
where's
how
that?
they thought about it.
A bunch of sissy. God forgive me.
Where's it, man?
This is up above when they say a person who has sexual intercourse with their spouse without the consent of that spouse. So now that's a blanket, but that's not bad enough. That's very bad because they now say that you no longer give your body to your partner on marriage. So they do away with two things that I was told in marriage preparation are tenets and characteristics of marriage. But the second part is they say, or where the action of the defendant spouse is of such a kind or in such a manner that if the defendant spouse had used reasonable caution and observation, it would appear to the defendant spouse that there is no consent or there would be a great risk that there there being no consent, he shall be presumed to have intended to have sexual intercourse without the consent of the other spouse.
So explain
Wow.
that. That means if I feel like my wife is going to say no, and I still go and have sex, I'm violating.
No. That is saying if you have sex in a circumstance with your wife, that if you'd stop and thought about it, it might have appeared to you that there was no consent. Yeah. Or that there's a great risk that there is no consent.
So how the court is going to determine that, though? I mean,
And then, if that's the case, you have to show that you reasonably believe that the other spouse gave consent. Well, all of that is wrapped up in foolishness, because if you use caution and all the rest of that, and all of this was a risk, you could never then prove the negative.
What happens in a scenario when she say no, but it mean yes?
Well, my brother, if it's your wife, don't fool with it.
Are you telling me that I can have to start keeping sweetheart?
no. Ask him the obvious. Are you saying that we're going to have to ask the wife before we have sexual intercourse with her for permission? That's what it all.
But I
that's what
always
I'm
do
saying?
it.
But what they tell you is that's what you're doing when you're getting married.
It contradicts
The vows I
see?
give
Yes.
myself.
the
to you.
pastors who
Now,
met.
Yes.
at any point that I say, because you say that to your wife too, right?
Yeah.
That means at some point I have to say, look, now I know I give myself to you on the wedding day. I take it myself back now, right? Now, that is fine. My only point would be if they're hell-bent, and I use the word hell-bent
Yes.
purposely on doing this, when the wife says no to me, I should be able to divorce her for that reason.
Wow. That's very interesting.
But that may
Because
not be-
my religion tells me
Listen to him.
that I get married
For
to
sex.
avoid fornication.
Yes, that's the primary reason to get married.
Now, if my wife says no, and I know that it's not good for man to be alone, I should have the right to divorce her instantly and get another wife who will tell me yes. I think that's what we're going to have to do when we pass this law. We're going to have to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act.
Wow.
And we could work out the details about finances and the rest of that later. But my religion says that this is the purpose of marriage. I have a constitutional right to practice my religion and to have the faith that I have. And if I've been married now 20... Oh, Lord, let me get this right so I could go home now. 25 years.
You've been married that long?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been married. This year will make 26 years.
Really?
So I will be this year married for more than half of my life.
Wow. You got married young.
24.
That's powerful. I
Yeah.
got married young too.
Yeah, so if I make this deal 26 years ago and y'all change the law on
To
me,
alter it.
I should be able to get out of that deal because that is not the contract I signed up for.
Wow.
So then
And every man who was married before this, man and woman, by the way, because
Yes.
women could commit this offense as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I could withhold my body?
Oh, this can kill the toy boy husband. Dead,
Really?
Dead.
Wow.
But let me ask you a question. Can I go to court and argue my position from a religious standpoint and the judge consider my argument?
No, because the bottom line is...
But I have freedom of religion.
But you have to respect other people's rights. They have given this other person this right. To balance the equation, my point is to balance the social circumstance. They must give people who are married. See, if you're married after this law comes into effect, you know the terms upon which you're getting married.
Oh.
But if you are married at the time this law comes into effect, you should seriously consider divorcing your spouse and then just go on, either become a monk or...
A monk?
Yeah.
Boy, every monk who's a monk.
It's a punk.
Stop saying that.
That's not true.
That ain't true.
That's not true.
That isn't what is the name of the movie? He said every monk who's a monk punch a punk in his monk. Oh no.
No, but this is serious though. So I mean, this can't be right.
This the works of the
this
devil.
cannot be right. But let me ask you, Mrs. Monroe. I understand that the Christian Council has attorneys as well, right? Now, Are there attorneys explaining this the way you explain on Freedom March for the public and for our benefit?
I don't
Are there
know.
attorneys doing the same way?
I
Doing the same thing?
don't know
It would-
spiritual advisor. Remember in the constitutional referendum argument, Fred Smith and I said that in our view, arguably gay marriage was already possible in the Bahamas, and very likely the recognition of gay marriage celebrated abroad are definitely recognizable here. Fred litigates a lot in court. I litigate a lot in court. The argument proceeded on the footing that gay marriage was not possible. After the referendum, the then president of the Court of Appeal gave the Eddie in the Pews Distinguished Lecture for the law school, where she just laid out the law that basically supports the view that Fred and I said, that it is arguably possible now. Definitely the recognition is. I do not know who advises the persons in the Christian Council. I do not know at all. I do not
I think
know.
it's Father James Palacios.
Well, he's not a lawyer, Brother Monka.
That's one strike against him.
Well, you know, even the Bible tells you, study to show thyself approved.
Hallelujah.
Now
Hallelujah.
that means you have to be able to know what you're studying, eh?
Yeah.
You let me perform cardiac surgery on you?
Oh, Dr. Dwayne Sands got to do that.
No, but I could read one book and then I could tell you
Yeah.
I think I know how to do it. You
Yeah.
gonna let me do it?
No. No.
So, you know, I don't know who advised them. I don't know what advice they're taking. I don't know who is advising the government. This seems to be something that's imported,
It is.
and
It
it's
is.
imported without any concept of our social circumstances. And
The worst part about it is I went to CEDAW's website. There is nothing on marital rape there. They talk about stove burning of the woman. They talk about genitalia mutilation,
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
Right? And I've told them we have not mutilated a vagina in the last 450 years since the white man bring us here. We've adopted all of his religion, his practices, and everything. So it's not applicable to us.
Yeah.
So it is not even there. And what I find so interesting is that many of us in leadership are so intellectually dishonest that they wouldn't even consult.
But you know what is even sadder is all of this is so unnecessary because we have domestic violence protection orders.
Yes.
That if your wife feels threatened,
Yes.
she can go to a court ex parte without you,
Yes.
and get you put out your house.
Not only that, the law also supports her husband, a sweetheart. Because it says that if I know that a man is mistreating his wife, I can take out the action.
Yeah, I don't know that is so.
Well, I invite you to take a look at it.
I don't know that is
Listen
so.
to me. I ain't gonna argue with you. Use my attorney.
And what is interesting is with even regard the financial aspect of it. A wife, if she feels that a husband is using financial harassment,
Yes.
can get a domestic violence protection
Yes.
order
Yes.
to prevent it.
Yes.
So then you must ask yourself, what is the purpose of all of this criminalization,
Right.
other than to redefine
Marriage.
the relationship called marriage and redefine it in a way that is totally different than we understand it?
And it is being supported by the church,
This
which is
is the
contrary.
danger.
Because we are told that marriage is ordained by God. We are
That's what the Bible
told
says, yes.
that you should mate the woman, be fruitful.
I'm not blind.
And when I'm ready to be fruitful, listen, I'm going to have to hold her down. I don't care if Carl Bettel don't like it. You don't hold down your wife, I can hold down mine. That's my wife.
But Mr. Monica, what is so interesting to me, right? The more I read 1 Corinthians chapter 7,
Yes?
the more I understand the relationship that God has actually ordained between man and woman, right?
Yes.
It says, but because there's so much sexual immorality,
Yes.
each man should have his own wife and each woman should have her own husband.
Yes.
The husband shall fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's sexual needs.
Only if they feel like it.
The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time, so you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Afterward, you should come together again so that Satan would not be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now listen, these fellas in the Christian Council, if they're not understanding what I'm understanding, and if they don't read this and comprehend this, then they need to give that up. Because they should not even be entertaining.
Give up that
The Christian
money?
Council,
Give up that
they
money?
should not be entertaining the Attorney General nor the government on
Well,
this.
we could form a second Christian council now.
You know,
They could have the Bahamas Christian Council,
See, Mr. Monica.
and we'll have the Commonwealth Christian Council.
for years people have been calling me a heretic, right?
Yeah.
Not because these guys say that they represent a church. They are representing the church. Remember now, there's only one church.
What church is that, my
And
spiritual
that is
advisor?
the body of Christ, the church that Jesus Christ himself established on the day on the day of Pentecost in AD 33. These men may not be a part of that church. They may be a part of their own institution they call in the church. Because if they don't understand what the word of God is teaching and they entertaining this foolishness the government is about to bring forward, then something is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
Which church, they ain't represent me.
Because what you have read said that to refrain from it, the two of you have to
Agree.
consent.
You see the language, right?
Well, the language that I've read to you is completely
Different.
Yeah. And
Completely
then,
And,
different.
and it's meant to be different.
Wow.
It is meant to denigrate and degrade
What we have here in the Bible
institution
of marriage. Yeah, wow.
we have to chase them out.
Wow.
Once you do that,
Wow.
then the other parts of the institution of marriage, like between a man and a woman, we already established that this Bible thing don't control marriage. And so whatever you include to inject in it, that's how you do it.
So I'll be able to marry my tamarind tree then.
If you want to. Then
Goodness
maybe
of my
step as a sweet tamarind tree.
And some of them would be able to marry their poodles.
Yeah, that's right. The dog is a man's best friend and never leave you.
Wow.
You treat a woman good, she might still leave
We're in the
you.
last days.
Go
man.
to Genesis chapter
are in
2
the last
and
days.
read verse 24 to me, my spiritual advisor.
Boy, the fellas in the Christian Council, they definitely, if they agree with this, they cannot be saved.
Genesis chapter 2.
I will publicly come out and say all of them are not Christians.
Well, go to Genesis
from the-
chapter 2,
Genesis chapter 2.
verse 24.
All right, here we go. Let me get this here quickly, Mr.
Yeah.
Bunker.
I mean, it's amazing what is taking place. Carl Bettel is doing the devil's work.
Genesis chapter 2, which verse?
Verses
24.
Is it 24? Yes. I hope that's King James version, but let's hear it.
That's it.
It says,
right there.
well, to get the full thing, it says, so the Lord God caused the man to fall into deep sleep. While the man slept, the Lord took out of one of the man's ribs and closed the opening. Then the Lord made a woman from the rib, and he brought her to the man. And the man exclaimed, this is now bone of my bone,
Bone of my bone,
flesh of my flesh.
flesh of my flesh.
She should be called woman
She shall be called woman
because she was taken from man.
because she was taken from man.
Therefore,
Therefore,
a man leaves his father
a
and
man
mother
leaves his father and mother
and cleaves unto his wife,
and cleaves unto his wife,
and the two shall become one.
and the two shall become one.
They are no longer two.
And anybody who gets
But
in
one.
between,
Yeah.
we're going to have to take the
You are
bum
there.
sucking.
You are there. Something you have women today, people today, advocating that we stop using man.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, let me tell them
They want to
something.
replace with what?
male, female.
Let me explain something to you. A man has a right to display his natural manness. It's a God-given right.
Absolutely.
If you're a man, you have a right to display it. And don't allow anybody to tell you not to display it. If you are prepared to stand up in man face, well then be prepared to be punched on by man. So don't.
I'm not sure.
I'm not advocating violence, but
That's what it
I'm a
sound like.
man. I'm a man. And if you are prepared to challenge my mandacy,
Well,
don't get upset if I throw a left.
Brother Monica,
I'm not advocating violence.
if your wife is coming up in your face, you've already failed in being a man.
Right.
But I quite agree with you.
Yeah. So
I have
you know,
no problem with my wife. The
And
only
you-
problem I have is
I don't love
she
anybody enough that I would
lining
hit
me with
them.
oils.
None.
Say it again?
I don't love anyone enough to hit them.
Okay.
I think that much of myself.
What if they keep in sweetheart?
Then he could pay that bill.
What if they bring a Chinese baby home?
Then you take care of the Chinese baby.
You have a choice. If you want to keep the woman, you got to mind the baby.
But
If you don't want to mind the baby, then you can't keep the woman.
but let me tell you what I could do.
That's what it is,
Let
you
me tell
know.
you. I met a Chinese baby. And I told the woman, put away that Chinese baby and come home to daddy.
Yeah, well, you know, at
It's
the end-
powerful.
Yeah, but that's the reality. If you want to keep the woman, you have to mind the baby.
Monroe,
Yep.
you got to come back. The
Yeah,
clock.
he definitely
Come
has
back,
to.
Monroe.
Yeah, he has
Not
to.
a problem. Just
Spiritual
let me know.
advisor,
Definitely has
tell
to. It's
my
the
people
weekend.
to behave quickly.
Yes, we're hoping for a safe weekend again, Mr. Monica, and we
Yeah.
hope that people would love one another. I think that's the key. The whole society is missing an element here.
What's that?
The element is love.
Okay.
Once we love one another, there'll be no harm.
This is powerful. Now,
Absolutely.
I drive in taxi. The tourists them won't go to the strip joint. Will I get locked up?
You can't get locked.
If I go in with them to see the people stripping, can the police lock me up?
If they raid it,
They cannot lawfully lock you up. When they raid, they're checking for liquor licensing violations.
What if the woman I'm naked?
And for immigration violations.
Right, okay.
Once you know you're going in there to see naked woman, to see naked woman isn't indecent.
See you tomorrow. I mean,
have a good weekend. Monday.
Monday. Thanks, man.
The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.